that's what people didn't realize.
Yeah, well, if that was the case, then I think they should have sort of foregone all this nonsense and just established Hoyer as the starter from the beginning.
And I think that shows the Jimmy Haslam influence and the media influence, the fact that they even went through that. And, but then again, to me, it's like going and buying, okay, I've never driven a Lamborghini, but I just got my hands on one. I'm not going to take your word that it drives 150 miles an hour. I want to get behind the wheel and see it. So even if you thought about it, because I truly believe that the quarterback competition was as much a process of the media and an invention of the media, much more than the coaching staff. The coaching staff, yeah, they could have came out and said, this is our guy. But if you read, I have every statement Mike Pettine ever made. He told you every step of the way things were, and they stayed the same way all the way through. He never lied. He told the people, Brian's number one, Johnny's number two, but he is learning. Brian's number one, Johnny's number two, but he is learning. That never changed the whole time. The whole quarterback debate was made up by the media. I truly believe that this thing, Mike Pettine knew how it was going to end up unless the Lamborghini showed up and truly did drive 150 miles an hour. Then you go, oh, okay, maybe I will buy that car. But otherwise, you go, okay, it's not as good as I thought it would, but I think, I'll work on it. I'll take it. And I got to believe, if you go back and look, I could show you every statement. There was no doubt who the quarterback was from day one on, except to the media, because they could care less what happens in Cleveland as long as they've got something to write about. And as you can continue to tell, they continue to try to find ways to spin this story into how it affects John Manziel, even after he's not a part of the story anymore. So I truly believe that there wasn't as much of a quarterback competition as anybody wants to believe, and I don't think the Browns lied about it, because it's a matter of taking their statements and reading it however you want. But every step of the way, what did I say? You listen to the show and you join me. I kept saying, guys, this is going exactly the way the Browns said it was. I mean, Pettine said he was ahead, and he's done nothing to not still be ahead, and the kid's coming along. But the best compliment they ever gave Manziel is he's slightly ahead of where we thought he would be at this point. The Browns themselves never raved about him. They never said, we don't know. They just simply played it low key and allowed you to do all the speculation.
Well, the interesting thing is it's going to be interesting to see what happens on Thursday night when they play the Bears. Of course, Hoyer's probably just going to get a couple of series, and then you're going to set everybody down. You were talking about, well, what happens if something bad happens to Hoyer, and you advocated maybe bringing in Grossman. Is there going to be a competition on Thursday for the backup quarterback job between Manziel and Shaw and Grossman? And what happens if Hoyer gets hurt? And there could be a battle there and see what happens.
You just hit it on the head, brother. I give you all the credit there, man, because I think more than people are giving credit, that's going to come down to Johnny has now got to prove to this coaching staff in game 3 and 4 that he can be the number 2. And I'm not saying he'll slip. What I'm saying is he's got to prove to them, hey, I'm good enough to be your guy. And that's why I'll be honest with you. I know the Browns need to play their starters. I would play Hoyer for the whole first quarter in game 4. But if I need to develop Manziel, man, I'd have him play the rest of the game, the rest of that 4th preseason game, as long as I can keep him safe. You know what I mean? And he can run around and protect himself for the most part, although not as much as he thought he may be able to. But I got to let him play. I got to let him play just because, like we just said, what if in quarter 2 I've got to put him in there? I need to know if he's ready to go or not. I need to know what to do here. So I think you got to see a lot out of him. But I'm with you. I think all 3 of those guys, because if Manziel doesn't pick it up, and Grossman, which I don't expect. I don't like Grossman at all. But if he comes in and competently owns this offense, then if I'm the coaching staff and I've got a question, then all of a sudden I'm thinking about carrying 3 quarterbacks and putting Connor Shaw on the practice squad, because you may need a veteran backup to your veteran. I'm just saying, Johnny's way less developed than people think. By the way, did you notice we were joking about Monday Night Football the other day and those complicated play calls? Did you see what Chris Cooley, he actually broke down that play call and said it was a nothing play call, like the thing that Manziel read back to Gruden. He goes, man, maybe the kid doesn't even know the playbook at all, because that was a whole bunch of jargon, but none of it actually goes together. So maybe that's what the problem is. Maybe Johnny's calling plays that don't exist. Maybe they all are. I don't know. Maybe they're calling alien plays. I don't know, man.
Well, he said it's like learning a foreign language, so maybe he's still in the early stages of Spanish 1.
You know? Honor of Robin Williams, Mork from Ork, Nanu, you know? I mean,
right.
Simplify them, you know? I don't know. I still say get to the huddle and go, you guys block straight ahead. You go as far as you can go. You go to the 5. No, I'm just kidding. You can't do that.
Right, just draw them up like in the field.
Run to the coach and do an out pattern. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But anyway, so looking at that, now let's get past that, because, again, offense in general as a whole, what are you looking to see here tomorrow? Again, it's the preseason. We can't really preview per se, but what are you looking to see outside of the quarterbacks tomorrow, in the first half anyway?
Well, I would like to see how the offensive line does as far as pass protection, because, of course, you want to keep Hoyer healthy, and the Rams have a very fearsome defensive line. That's really the strength of their team. So they're going to be, trying to make a name for themselves with Robert Quinn and the rest of them coming after Hoyer. So it'll be a good test of the Browns' pass blocking. And then, of course, it'd be nice to see that offense, the running game rolling along well the way Tate did. Tate did very well, I think, against the Redskins. The thing I'm going to look for most is wide receivers catching the ball. There's still about 2 or 3 spots that are just wide open, and a plethora of guys who are available and who are out there. If they can just make a couple of good catches, they could get a job. There's really a lot of competition there, and so it's going to be interesting to see who can step forward and say, I deserve to be on this team. I think I said this exact same thing last week, but guys like Taylor Gabriel, who's, getting some reps as a punt returner, that's going to help him. And, see what Benjamin can bring to the table as a receiver. Who's going to get these spots? Because, again, once Josh Gordon goes, which that could happen possibly as early as this weekend, then, Miles Austin is your number 1 receiver. And, boy, we need a little help after that, besides, of course, Jordan Cameron.
You know what? I will say this interesting, too. I've talked to some guys, and the Browns truly do feel that the fans have not gotten a good representation of Miles Austin intentionally, because they've really limited him as far as what you've seen from him and what he's done. The Browns feel pretty confident that, obviously they're going to have to watch his mileage during the season, because you don't want too much wear and tear, but they feel that he is definitely going to be a competent option at number 1. Obviously, there's a difference between a game breaker type receiver, but Coach Pettin, he said, look, there's a lot of, we've kept him under wraps, and it makes sense, because they need as many guys they can rely on as they can. He goes, look, we've already seen what we need to see out of him. We're purposely low-key in him because we want to make sure that he's got the rest and the preparation to go out there and give us what we need on Sundays. So they've kind of got him in bubble wrap right now. They are protecting Miles Austin. I think the biggest question more than him is Nate Burleson, because the Browns like the limited things that they've seen from him, but that word right there is the problem, limited. He's been injured, in and out, and just really not taking advantage of the opportunity in front of him. But I don't see him being in jeopardy for the simple fact of the lack of depth at wide receiver. I think he still makes the team, and what they get out of him, they get out of him. And whatever they don't, they fill with other guys. What do you think?
Well, I agree. In fact, I really wouldn't mind if they put both Miles Austin and Nate Burleson in bubble wrap until Pittsburgh. Just let all these other wide receivers scrambling for a job, let them play the whole game. Give them tons of reps, tons of opportunities to catch the ball, see who steps up and makes the team. Then you just make sure that you've got Miles Austin and Nate Burleson healthy for the first game that really counts, because you got to know that after all these years, they know how to perform as an NFL wide receiver. Just say, okay, you guys are fine. Don't get hurt. Don't stub your toe in the parking lot, and let's see who else is going to join you as a wide receiver on this team.
Gonna be interesting, because I mentioned a couple of the guys. We talked about Willie Snead a couple weeks back. I liked what I saw from that Jonathan Krause. I liked the one he made a nice grab over the middle late in the game. the opportunity's there for those guys. Charles Johnson's had his chances. He intrigues a lot of people, but I'm with you. Outside of the first couple, that it's wide open for those guys there for who's going to jump in and take those wide receiver positions. And if I were those guys, I'd show something now, because everybody's cutting 20 players off of their roster this coming week, which means there's going to be about 600 players looking for jobs next week, and you can bet that there's going to be some wide receiver. Right now, I think that's one of the reasons that the Browns are sitting tight at wide receiver, because they're waiting for next week, and they're going to see who opens up and try to find a guy or two out there that they can fit right in, whether it's a young guy or an experienced wide receiver. So if these guys think they're just competing with themselves and each other, they're wrong. They're competing with guys that aren't even on this team yet, because the Browns are going to upgrade next week that wide receiver position. So Kraus, Snead, all of those guys, Johnson trying to come up, they need to do something, because when you ask Coach Pettine about wide receivers, he mentions Austin, he mentions Burleson, he mentions Benjamin, and then it's those other guys. So clearly you can see they have their idea of who's sticking, and everybody else is up for grabs. So those guys are really, I expect to see some competition. Drop passes will probably cost you a roster spot Saturday.
Right. They're going to have to not play tight, but this is definitely their time to shine, because, tomorrow may not come for some of them again after this game. And then after next Thursday's game, there's going to be more cut downs. And like you said, there's probably going to be some other guys coming in, because I'm sure there's people who aren't going to make some other NFL teams that could definitely make the Browns as a wide receiver. And some of them may be wishing they were already in the Browns camp right now, so they have a little bit of a better chance. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to really be put up or shut up time. So like, when you ask me what I'm looking for, I'm definitely looking for the wide receivers. Who's going to sink and who's going to swim?
That's the biggest thing I'm looking for, too. The continuity in the offense in general and the wide receivers. Defensively, I just want to see them continue, at least the first-team defense, continue to do what they do. I want to keep seeing, too, some of these guys, because there is a bit of competition still. I want to see more out of Kirksey. I really like what we've seen with him. They say they're going to split him and Robertson, but I expect Kirksey sooner rather than later to just kind of take over the majority of those reps. Although Robertson's been better this year in the preseason, he came ready to compete for a job. I want to see Armani Bryant, because, as we know, Des Bryant had surgery, but apparently they think he may still be able to get back for week 1 of the season. If not, regardless, Coach Pettine said it's not an injured reserve thing at all, and that he definitely, it's a shorter window for him, but that depth up front, getting at the quarterback, is going to be big. I keep saying they have got a diamond in the rough in Armani Bryant, and hopefully he can keep doing that as he gets opportunities against better players and the better caliber guys. He's not hopefully just shining against other guys, but that's one of those positions where that doesn't happen a lot. I think if you can do it, you can do it regardless of who you're playing against, but we'll see. But that depth there, and again in the backfield as well, defensively with Buster Screen, that hurts. Justin Gilbert will now most likely start the season, although it looked like he may end up being beat out by Buster Screen. Buster Screen may not be ready for week 1, I don't know, but so you want to see those couple of positions? I'm with you. That's pretty much it, man. So I'm with it, man. I don't know what we're going to see, but we're going to talk about it next week, and then we'll see what the Browns' plan is, too, for how they attack the 4th preseason game. I expect some starters to play a lot. I expect some starters to play a little. I think it'll just depend on how things shake out with the roster cuts and stuff like that. But I would give Manziel a ton of time, because I think that and it may be easy. He may be able to just go out there and do it. But I think he has to go out there and get this coaching staff confident in him that he can be their number 2 and number 1 if they need it. So he's going to get a lot of time to play here in the next couple of games. And Connor Shaw, too. Hey, man, there's a lot of stories about guys that come from out of nowhere. Hey, Brian Hoyer wasn't drafted. Connor Shaw could come from out of nowhere. Wouldn't it be amazing if 2 years from now he's the true quarterback of the Browns? Now, I don't see it, but I'm just saying he's the quarterback, and we're not talking about Hoyer or Manziel. Talking about that Connor Shaw kid, man, So who knows? You never know, man.
Well, if there's any team that deserves to have an amazing quarterback just show up, dropped out of the clear blue sky, it's the Cleveland Browns. I think we deserve that kind of a break after everything that we've been through.
That's so Cleveland. What you just said right there is that's the way we would find a franchise quarterback in Cleveland. It wouldn't be a number one draft pick. It wouldn't be a trade or a